I have played a lot of third-person games over the years, and some of them leave a lasting impression, not just because they're fun, but because they have something special in the way they tell stories, build their worlds, or connect you with the characters. So in this video, I'm sharing 20 third-person masterpieces that every gamer should check out. When God of War was rebooted in 2018, it felt like the series had grown up alongside us. Gone were the chaotic, rage-fueled days of the original trilogy, replaced by something deeper and more personal. Kratos, now a father, carries not only an axe, but the weight of his past. And his relationship with Atreus forms the emotional heart of both games. The combat is still incredibly satisfying, punchy, precise, and impactful, but it's the slower moments, the quiet boat rides and heartfelt conversations that really stay with you. Then Ragnarok comes along and raises the stakes, expanding the world and deepening the story without losing sight of what made the first game so special. It's a rare sequel that actually feels like a true continuation instead of just more of the same. If you're into rich mythology, character-driven storytelling, and gameplay that balances brains with brawn, these two are absolutely worth your time. Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor caught everyone off guard when it launched. It took the world of Tolkien, added a dose of Arkham-style combat, and threw in a game-changing nemesis system that made every encounter with orc captains feel like a personal rivalry. You're Talion, a ranger who's part ghost thanks to the wraith Celebrimbor sharing your body, which sounds odd but works really well. The gameplay loop is slick, hunting down enemies, unlocking new abilities, and slowly building your legend. Then Shadow of War came along and went bigger in every direction, giving you fortresses to conquer and entire orc armies to control. It's chaotic and fun, but also smart about how it builds your story through these procedurally generated nemeses. You'll remember that one orc who betrayed you more vividly than many scripted villains. If you want that mix of action, strategy, and unpredictable storytelling, these two are definitely something to dive into. The remakes of Resident Evil 2 and 4 aren't just nostalgia trips, they're genuinely some of the best third-person games out there. Resident Evil 2 is all about the tension. You're creeping through the dim corridors of the Raccoon City Police Department with limited ammo and the ever-present dread of something lurking just out of view. Mr. X stalking you around the halls never stops being nerve-wracking, and the environmental design is incredibly tight. Then there's Resident Evil 4 Remake, which shifts gears into more action-packed horror without losing the spooky charm. Leon's back with his signature sarcasm, but now he's smoother than ever, flipping between headshots and roundhouse kicks in one seamless motion. The remake adds polish without stripping away what made the original great. Whether you prefer the slow-burn fear of RE2 or the over-the-top action of RE4, both games are horror done right, and they're incredibly fun to play through more than once. Next, let's talk about Black Myth: Wukong. This game takes the legend of the Monkey King and turns it into something truly cinematic and unforgettable. From the first battle to the last, the combat feels smooth, fast, and super reactive, blending that Souls-like challenge with a mythical flair all its own. There's a satisfying rhythm to how you fight, dodging, countering, transforming. Every move feels deliberate but never clunky. What really stands out, though, is the world. It's filled with strange beauty, from ethereal temples floating in the clouds to dense, misty forests crawling with creatures pulled from Chinese folklore. You're not just battling bosses. You're stepping into a culture-rich fantasy world that feels both ancient and fresh. It's the kind of game where you stop just to look around and soak it all in. If you haven't played it yet, trust me, this one is a modern classic in the making. Silent Hill 2 Remake isn't just a visual update, it's a full-bodied return to one of horror's most emotional and unsettling journeys. The developers did a brilliant job modernizing the controls and presentation while preserving the heart of what made the original so impactful. James Sunderland's story still hits hard, maybe even harder now with the enhanced facial animations and more grounded performances. Exploring Silent Hill feels like walking through a nightmare wrapped in fog, where the environment itself seems to react to your inner state. The horror doesn't rely on cheap jumps. It lingers in the silence, in the sound of distant footsteps, in the flicker of a hallway light. And when the monsters do show up, they're more grotesque and disturbing than ever. Pyramid Head's presence is just as chilling today as it was back then. Whether you're returning or stepping into Silent Hill for the first time, this remake is a masterclass in psychological horror done right. Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth aren't just remakes, they're full-on reimaginings that walk a fascinating line between nostalgia and surprise. The first game reintroduces Cloud, Tifa, Aerith, and the gang in Midgar with incredible visuals, deeper character moments, and a revamped combat system that's part action, part strategy. Then Rebirth expands the world dramatically, giving us open areas to explore, side quests that actually feel meaningful, and some jaw-dropping story twists that add new layers to a game many of us thought we already knew. What's amazing is how well these games blend heartfelt moments with wild spectacle. You'll go from laughing during a quirky side mission to being floored by an emotional cutscene, all within the same hour. The music, the combat, the world building, it's all top tier. Whether you played the original back in the day or you're just hopping in now, this remake series is shaping up to be something truly special.
Let's do it right.
A Plague Tale: Innocence came out of nowhere and quietly blew people away. It's a haunting medieval tale about two siblings, Amicia and Hugo, navigating a war-torn, rat-infested world. The stealth-based gameplay is simple but effective, and the emotional weight of protecting your little brother gives every moment extra tension. Then, Requiem took that foundation and dialed everything up. Better visuals, deeper character development, and more ambitious set pieces. It's still grounded and intimate, but the scale and stakes feel so much higher. What's really beautiful about both games is how they focus on connection. Not just surviving, but surviving together. The environments are stunning in a tragic kind of way, and the rat swarm mechanics, as weird as they sound, are genuinely impressive and terrifying. If you like story-driven games that tug at your heart while keeping you on edge, these two are absolutely worth experiencing.
More of them coming! I have a few extinguishers. I'll help. There!
Alan Wake 2 finally gave fans what they'd been waiting for, and somehow it was even weirder and more ambitious than expected. This time around, the game blends psychological horror with detective mystery, letting you play as both Alan and Saga, an FBI agent unraveling a tangled web of reality-bending events. It's darker and more cerebral than the first game, but also more polished in terms of gameplay. Combat feels weightier, the atmosphere is soaked in dread, and the shifting between realities keeps you constantly on your toes. Remedy's storytelling is at its best here. It's surreal, sometimes confusing in a good way, and filled with symbolism and layered meaning. The way it connects to Control and the broader Remedy universe just adds another layer of intrigue. It's not your typical third-person horror game. It's something more experimental, and that's exactly what makes it stand out. Alan Wake 2 is strange, smart, and totally unforgettable. Ghost of Tsushima is one of those games that makes you want to stop and just exist in its world for a while. Set during the Mongol invasion of Japan, you play as Jin Sakai, a samurai torn between tradition and survival. The world is breathtaking, with windswept fields, golden forests, and villages bathed in mist. But it's not just pretty. The combat is sharp, responsive, and surprisingly deep, letting you duel with grace or go full ghost with stealth and gadgets. There's a rhythm to the swordplay that feels so satisfying once you lock into it. The story doesn't overcomplicate things, but it builds emotional weight over time, especially as Jin questions who he's becoming. The side quests feel meaningful, the haikus give you moments of reflection, and the photo mode is basically a game in itself. It's a love letter to samurai cinema, and one of the most elegant open-world games you can play. Black Flag was the moment Assassin's Creed decided to cut loose, literally. It threw out the overly serious tone of some of the earlier entries and let you live out your best pirate life as Edward Kenway, a roguish captain with charm to spare. The naval combat alone is worth the price of admission. Steering your ship through storms, boarding enemy vessels, and listening to your crew sing shanties is still some of the most fun this series has ever had. But it's not just about piracy. The game has a surprisingly strong story, blending historical events with the usual Assassin Templar lore in a way that actually works. The Caribbean setting is gorgeous, the islands are fun to explore, and there's always something to do, whether that's hunting sharks, upgrading your ship, or diving into a shipwreck. Even years later, Black Flag holds up as one of the most enjoyable and refreshing entries in the franchise. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is the kind of game that doesn't just tell a story, it makes you feel like you're living inside someone else's mind. You play as Senua, a picked warrior journeying through a haunting vision of the Norse underworld, all while battling her own inner demons. What sets this one apart is its intimate perspective. It's a third-person game, but it feels incredibly personal. The audio design is unreal. If you play with headphones, the voices whispering around you can make you genuinely uneasy. The combat is minimalistic but intense, and the puzzles often tie directly into Senua's psychological state. It's a shorter experience, but every second feels heavy with meaning. What I really admire is how it handles mental health. Not in a preachy way, but with honesty and empathy. It's not always comfortable, but that's exactly the point. Hellblade sticks with you long after the credits roll, and that's a rare thing.
It will spread towards her head, the seat of the soul, until there is nothing left of her.
Horizon Zero Dawn took everyone by surprise when it launched, blending a post-apocalyptic world with robot dinosaurs and one of the most compelling protagonists in recent memory. Playing as Aloy, a skilled hunter raised as an outcast, you unravel the mystery of a long-dead civilization while fighting mechanical beasts with a bow and some serious strategy. Then came Forbidden West, and it cranked up everything. Bigger world, smarter machines, deeper storylines, and some of the best visuals I've ever seen in an open-world game. What makes both games shine is how alive the world feels. There's a balance between exploration, combat, and narrative that rarely misses. Aloy herself is a grounded, relatable hero, strong without being over the top, curious without being naive. And that feeling of scanning a giant thunderjaw, planning your attack, and then somehow surviving the chaos, it never gets old. These two are essential for any fan of thoughtful, action-packed storytelling. Insomniac's Spider-Man trilogy is a love letter to the superhero genre and, more importantly, to the heart behind the mask. The first game set the tone, giving us a Peter Parker who was already seasoned but still juggling life, love, and responsibility. The web slinging alone made it a must-play, with fluid movement that somehow never gets old. Then Miles Morales added a fresh energy. His coming-of-age story had heart, rhythm, and style, with electric powers that gave the combat a whole new layer, and Spider-Man 2 brought it all together, letting you switch between Peter and Miles seamlessly in a city that's busier, denser, and even more fun to explore. The story hits on themes of mentorship, growth, and identity without ever dragging things down. It's exciting and cinematic, but it never forgets the people behind the powers. Few games capture the joy of movement and the weight of responsibility this well.
That does not sound good.
Almost there. How you holding up?
Miles? Principal Evans called.
Oh, man. Am I getting expelled?
Hey, you're just cutting class.
Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order was the single-player Star Wars adventure fans had been craving for years. As Cal Kestis, a young Jedi in hiding after Order 66, you explore ancient temples, run from the Empire, and slowly rebuild your connection to the Force. The gameplay blends Souls-like combat with Uncharted-style platforming and Metroidvania exploration. It sounds like a lot, but it all fits together smoothly. Then Jedi Survivor came in and built on everything the first game did right. Cal feels more confident, the maps are more expansive and interconnected, and the lightsaber combat is even more fun. The customization got a major upgrade too, so you can really make Cal your own. What I love most about both games is how they manage to feel like Star Wars without leaning on nostalgia too hard. They respect the universe, but they tell their own story, and a pretty great one at that.
Not such a warm welcome.
I guess knocking isn't an option.
We'll find our own way. Think you can break that coupling?
Let's find out.
The Last of Us games are the kind that leave a mark. Part 1 introduced us to Joel and Ellie, a broken man and a guarded teen brought together by loss, love, and survival in a world where everything has gone to hell. It's tense, quiet, and brutal, but also filled with little moments of humanity that make it unforgettable. Then Part 2 came along and challenged everything we thought we knew. It's darker, more complicated, and emotionally exhausting in the best way. It doesn't play it safe. It pushes you to feel, to question, and to empathize with characters even when it's uncomfortable. Both games have masterful pacing, cinematic direction, and some of the most impactful performances in gaming. The stealth and combat systems are refined and grounded, making every encounter feel desperate and dangerous. Whether you're here for the story, the gameplay, or both, these two are as essential as it gets in the world of third-person storytelling.
Think it came from over there.
The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt isn't just a great third-person RPG, it's one of those rare games that redefines what a fantasy world can feel like. You step into the boots of Geralt of Rivia, a gruff but good-hearted monster hunter caught in a web of war, politics, and personal drama. What makes this game so unforgettable isn't just the epic main story or the haunting open world, it's how even the smallest side quest feels rich with meaning. The dialogue is sharp, the choices actually matter, and the people you meet feel like they've lived long before you arrived. From the bustling streets of Novigrad to the eerie woods of Velen, every place you go feels alive. And don't even get me started on the Blood and Wine expansion. It's basically a second full game. If you love third-person games with great storytelling, emotional depth, and a world that's both magical and messy, this is one you simply can't miss.
You'll regret that. You will die here now.
Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain is probably the most open-ended stealth action game out there. You play as Big Boss, also known as Venom Snake, building an army and taking on missions across sprawling desert and jungle maps. What sets this one apart is just how many ways you can approach each mission. Want to go in loud with a rocket launcher? Sure. Prefer crawling through tall grass and knocking guards out one by one? Totally viable. You're given tools, gadgets, companions, including a horse, a dog, and even a sniper buddy, and total freedom to get creative. The story is classic Kojima, twisty, cryptic, and packed with moments that make you pause and think. Some people love the narrative, others are here for the gameplay loop, and honestly, both are valid. Whether you're Fultoning soldiers into the sky or customizing your mother base, Phantom Pain gives you a sense of control few games ever match.
Complete.
Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of those rare third-person games that doesn't just tell a story, it immerses you in a world so deeply you forget you're playing a game. As Arthur Morgan, a rugged outlaw trying to navigate the slow death of the Wild West, you live a life of campfires, shootouts, hunting, and hard choices. Rockstar crafted a living, breathing world where every little detail, from the mud on your boots to the way characters react to your honor level, feels purposeful. The pacing is slow, but it's deliberate. You ride through forests at sunrise or get caught in a thunderstorm mid-mission, and suddenly the game feels like an interactive novel. It's full of weighty themes about loyalty, freedom, and redemption, and Arthur's arc is easily one of the best in modern gaming. If you have the time to get lost in it, Red Dead 2 is one of the richest third-person experiences ever made.
Still got a little fight, you have your boy.
The Tomb Raider reboot trilogy took a bold step by reimagining Lara Croft not as the confident, seasoned adventurer we knew from the early games, but as someone growing into that role through pain, survival, and sheer determination. In Tomb Raider 2013, you see her struggle through her first real expedition gone wrong, and it's intense, gritty, cinematic, and surprisingly grounded. Rise of the Tomb Raider sharpens everything, with better exploration and puzzles that actually make you feel like a Tomb Raider. Then Shadow of the Tomb Raider wraps it up with a darker, more introspective tone, giving us a Lara who's starting to understand the consequences of her actions. Across all three games, you've got solid third-person action, clever environmental puzzles, and absolutely beautiful landscapes, from snowy Siberian peaks to dense jungles. It's a trilogy that's easy to binge and incredibly satisfying, especially if you love character-driven adventure games. Uncharted 4: A Thief's End feels like the perfect goodbye to one of gaming's most beloved characters, Nathan Drake. This time around, Nate's retired, but when his long-lost brother shows up, he's pulled back into a globe-trotting adventure that hits harder emotionally than any of the previous games. The pacing here is just masterful. One minute you're solving ancient puzzles in crumbling ruins, and the next you're hanging off a moving truck while dodging bullets. It's all super polished and fun to play, but what makes it special is the human side of the story. The dialogue feels natural, the relationships are believable, and the quieter moments, like walking through Nate's attic full of relics, really hit home. It's visually stunning too, with some of the best level design and camera work in any third-person game. Whether you followed Nathan Drake since the beginning or are just jumping in, Uncharted 4 is the kind of send-off every character deserves.
Christ!
Alright, so third-person games immerse you like nothing else. You walk with the characters, see what they see, and feel what they feel. These 20 games, they're not just must-plays, they're must-experience. Which one left the biggest impact on you? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more.